Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and my guest today is Thunder Bay City Councillor Shelby Chng. Welcome, Shelby.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure.
So let's start in your early days. So where did you grow up, Shelby? Tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I grew up in the East End of Thunder Bay, corner of McLaughlin and McNaughton, across from the train tracks. I lived there from when I was about 4 till I was in my last year of high school. Yeah, so that's my neighborhood. That's where I'm from. Let's see, what else do you want to know?
Well, what about your education? Where did you go to school? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, after high school, I applied to attend Lakehead University in psychology. So I was accepted into the psychology program there and did 1 year of psychology and realized I don't like psychology. But I took an elective in political science, and I've always been interested in politics. I come from a unionized family, so that was a lot of our dinner topic conversation was union involvement, and I assumed every other family talked about union stuff, but I from what I gather now, looking back, I guess not. So it was always something that was an interest to me, and I absolutely loved it, and I ended up with an honors in political science from Lakehead University.
And so when did you graduate from LU?
I graduated in 2006.
Cool. And so you're now the newest member on council. You've been on council for, what, a year now?
Yes, actually a year. December 1st is when I was sworn in, so almost a year to the date.
So have you been able to use your kind of political science education before this point? I mean, it makes sense, okay, you're on council, you know, political science, but what
Yeah.
about for those 8 or 9 years in between?
The 8 or 9 years, you know what, in hindsight, yes, because I think, like in education and anything, political science is one of those things that have a certain set of transferable skills. And it's really the framework for how you can make decisions and how you arrive at conclusions. And when you're studying that and you're studying different forms of government and models of what the good life means, you really get an appreciation in a sense for how it can apply to different situations. And I think political science is probably one of the more useful degrees.
And so how did that unfold for you, you know, in the years after graduation?
After I graduated, I really wanted nothing to do with politics. Much like most degrees, you get tired of it, you get burnt out, because you're studying it, you're not part of anything. So I applied for a job at the medical school, and I also applied for the 1 year teachers program because I really didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. And I felt strongly at the time that I wanted to do more and give, and teaching seemed at the time to fit my criteria. So I started at the medical school, and I was put on a wait list for Teachers College.
So you were working at the medical school or as a student?
No, I was working at the medical school. So I started off as an administrative assistant. I knew I had to get some job experience somewhere.
Sure.
And knowing the rules of administration actually would get you in anywhere. Just how to hold a meeting, taking minutes.
I figure secretaries run the world.
Oh, for sure. Hands down.
Oh my gosh.
Hands down.
Yeah.
So then I realized that by working on campus, I can get credits for my family members to attend school. So then my husband actually, we decided he had his degree in architecture. He wanted to go back and do an engineering degree. So he applied and was accepted, and 3 weeks after that, I got my acceptance letter to Teachers College.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now what do you do?
Yeah, dilemma. At the time, it felt like a sacrifice, where I it's like, oh, okay, what do I do? I decided to stay at the medical school, and I gave up my position, my spot in Teachers College, and I put my husband through school. And so I worked at the medical school. Within a year and a half, I got a promotion to a coordinator. So I was doing medical education programming. It was a very good job. Cut my teeth. It's a great place to work, and I still keep in touch with many of my colleagues there. We became unionized. We got a first fair collective agreement. I was on strike. I was a shop steward. I learned so much with my time there, and much of my adulthood development came from that environment. Although it's a great job on paper, sitting at a desk isn't for everybody, and it certainly isn't for me. I'm a social person. I like to interact. I like to problem solve, and I found it just didn't fit with my lifestyle. And I get that many people like that, and for all intents and purposes, that was success to me. So in my early 20s, that was what I considered successful. But when you start feeling a place, if it doesn't feel successful, then it's difficult to enjoy your life. And then every day I found myself going and checking what my RSP contributions were at and watching the clock, and it wasn't a life. So my husband and I had a long conversation about what was next. And he really wanted to be an engineer, and that was fine. So as he was graduating, I started working on my business plan for opening up my bridal boutique. At first, I wanted to open up a coffee shop, and it was going to be like in a Victorian house, and I would know everybody's coffee orders, and I'd have all this artwork on the wall, and it'd be this cool place with mixed match tables and chairs, and I would serve these different kinds of eggs. So like eggs with pineapple, eggs with ketchup, and people can build their own and be like an omelet, kind of just a weird kitschy place. And I kept having this mantra in my mind of just flipping my sign to open. Just that's all I kept seeing is flipping this sign to open. But I realized I'm not a very good cook, so it was just a fantasy that I kept resorting to, and I kept imagining my life in this situation. Bit of an escapism, I guess. So when my husband proposed to me, I went shopping for my dress and realized that the opportunities to buy a dress in Thunder Bay are not like how they are on TV, and it was a different experience. So I said, somebody should do something about this. Mm-hmm. And then my love of fashion and art replaced the eggs, and it all kind of just came together. And it took about a year to build my business plan, because it was going a lot of, do I do this, do I not, do I do this, do I not? Mm-hmm. And within a year, we still lived on a restricted income, like a self-imposed, just so we could save up money to do something. And so I left my job in September of 2012, opened up in October 2012, and I haven't really looked back. And it's scary, and I think if somebody were describing their life, like leaving a job that pays well, top of the union, benefits, the whole 9 yards, I'd say, whoa, what are you thinking? Don't do that. But now that I'm in it, that's me. That's the beauty of life, though.
That's it really rings a bell for me, because our family has a long history in food service in the restaurant business. And my one son, I helped him develop his business plan, and he's kind of, followed the same path. He had a good job as a head chef, and now has his own business that he's just working like crazy at. And but just that whole planning piece was so interesting, and I just felt honored to be able to work with him on that. But right now we need to take a short break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.